Of course, my lovely neighbour, he must know I'm doing a video because he's out with his tractoring away and making so much noise. I hope that the sound quality is reasonable for viewers. I was going to show a few more things about the old Fordson Major and tractors in general. One is the ease of access to things. So under here, under this flap, you've got the battery, very accessible, easy to get to, easy to put jump leads on, whatever you need to do when it's cold. And on most tractors you'll also have an electrical shut-off switch like this to isolate the electrics. It minimises fire risks and it stops seepage of electricity out of the battery when you're not using the tractor for weeks or months. So you just twist this 90 degrees and out the key pops, but you'd normally just leave it in there, balanced in there like that. And it's just a switch, there's nothing glorious about it. Now on these old Fordson Majors here and the Super Major, look, you've got a power takeoff at the back, but you've also got this one here at the front, and you've got another lever to operate this one there in the cab. This lever operates it. Now this tractor, as I say, made in what, 1966 I think, and at that time they were still experimenting with tractors, still seeing, you know, what did people need, what did people want. And it probably looked like a really good idea to have a power takeoff at the front as well. You know, what you have is a long bar that reaches from somewhere in the front of the tractor, some machinery, all the way under here, and goes in this tube at the front here, and you can turn the machinery on and off. So it could be driving anything from wood chopping equipment to a generator. You know, you might have a bolt-on generator on these big bolts on the front of the tractor to provide welding electricity out in the field or something like that. But you know, that died a death. Not enough people used a front PTO, so they stopped making them. You'll hardly find any tractors with that on. And we come to storage on a tractor. You know, it's good to have a few spares and a few tools, but this is about it. That is the box for spares. And you'd think there must be some easy place to put a box on a tractor to carry things. Well, there isn't. There's absolutely nowhere, despite appearances, that you can build a box onto a tractor. You could build one up on the roof, but then it's too high to be, you know, practically accessible. Some people build them on the front here and you can bolt them on. I've actually got one for this tractor, but it takes away the possibility of using that. Not that I would ever use it in the modern day, hopefully, but it also just makes that tractor just that bit longer, and you can't see it. So if you're maneuvering in a small yard, you don't really want a big box on the front. These bolts are very, very tough, and the idea of that is that you can have a rack here where you can hang heavy weights, so that if you have a heavy weight of machinery at the back of the tractor, say a water tank or a chemical spraying tank, you can counterbalance it so that the front wheels don't just pop up in the air every time you accelerate, or even when you're parked, if you put enough weight on the back, you just tip the trailer up, make it pull a wheelie. So you have to have counterweights at the front. And on modern tractors, they sort of hook on, they hang on. You have weights of, I don't know, 20 kilograms each, so they're reasonably handy. You lift them up and you clip them on, and you could have 10 or 20 of them across there to counterbalance the back of the tractor. I very seldom need them because I don't use much, don't really use equipment that has liquids in it or big tanks, which would create that sort of turning moment. I could talk about the hand throttle up here. Yeah, so every tractor has a hand throttle, so it's just linked straight to the foot throttle, which is just like that of a car. It's a pedal down here, so you press this for acceleration for your throttle, and and then it's linked to this. So when you're driving along a long boring road at 30 kilometers per hour, or if you're driving along a long field and it's a bit tedious, you can take your foot off and relax a bit, stretch your legs, and just use that hand throttle. Just leave it at a certain number of revs and it'll chug along all day. The windscreen wiper, yeah, you know, that's pretty important. All it is just that little box that there has a little motor in it, so it's all very simple. And a little wiper on the outside. Look at that, absolute luxury. And what other little foibles this beastie have? Yeah, when you buy a tractor, you know, you don't, these tractor tires look so big and beefy, but you don't need a special compressor or anything. As I say, they're pretty low pressure. These are actually very low pressure on the big tires. I don't remember exactly how much, but you know, maybe the same as a car, 32 psi, and perhaps just a little more on the front tires. But so you can even use a foot pump to pump them up if you have the patience. Here's the oil filler cap. So you unscrew this with a wrench, and then it's got some strange hieroglyphs on there that tell you what height of oil you should have, and you just see the oil in there. You'll see whether it's at a high enough level or not. So that's deadly simple. You've got a dipstick here as well, so you don't have to undo the bolt there if you're worried oil is leaking somewhere. Now the starter system on this tractor, you see you've got a key here, and this lever which operates the lights, and then a couple of extra light switches from the added lights are up there by the little fuse box. But this key does nothing actually except turn the generator on or off, and of course, or the alternator, and you want the alternator on so it charges the battery. So you just turn the key when you're going to start it. You don't have to. And then normally on the old Fordsons, when you press this lever down, it does two things. It presses this linkage here, which you can see it operating, which ends up here on the starter motor. It's this lever arm here, and it does two things. It engages a gear from the starter motor into the flywheel, and at the same time it makes contact on a very hefty, strong electrical switch, which starts the starter motor turning, which starts your tractor. But for some reason someone's altered this, I don't know why, so you have to use two hands to start this tractor. I have to press this lever down first to engage the gear, and then press this button which makes the electrical contact, which makes the starter motor turn. Well, probably just saving a bit of money not buying original parts, I would think. So it works fine. When it comes to roofs, would you have a roof, would you not? Lots of tractors don't have roofs, the old ones, but they're a very good thing to have, because you could be in the sun all day, you could be out in the rain, in the snow, towing bits and pieces. And I would always get a tractor that's got a roof. Many of them have a frame and then nothing on it, strangely enough. I suppose it's like a roll bar, really, a safety feature, but I just made that out of old bits of metal and some fiberglass I had lying about, and it does the job very well, actually. Now when it comes to towing things, you can get around an awful lot of laws in Europe by towing with a tractor, and the International Driving Convention, made in, I think, was it Zurich or Vienna? I think it was Vienna, has all the stipulations. You can look it up online, but some parts of it are open to interpretation by different member states of all the signatories, and the signatories are basically every country in the world with a very few exceptions, and almost every country just says, yeah, we'll just do what we've all agreed, and a few decide that they want some exception for some local reason or just to be awkward. But basically you can tow pretty much anything with a tractor, and you can go up to the full width, which would be bordering on having a wide load. But what you see in practice, even in England, is people with wide loads on the back of tractors which are much wider than the carriageway, and I mean, it will be totally unlawful without escort vehicles back and front, but the police seem to let it slip, as in, I've seen it happen all of my life. And in different countries you can get away with any length of trailer, for example. I think from memory the only two countries in the European Union which don't like you having any length is Germany and Ireland. I think there are limitations on that, and in Germany you have to have a handbrake on your towed trailer, such that if you left the trailer you can lock the wheels and it's not going to run away. But what that means in practice, it might even be as simple as having chocks to put under the wheels, and the police might be happy with that in practice. But in theory, as I remember the Vienna Driving Convention, it says you have to have a mechanism designed into it as a standard for the vehicle. So Germany is often a little bit tetchy with its driving rules, but everywhere else basically you can couple on whatever trailer you want as long as it's not past its maximum up to wide load width. Put a warning triangle and perhaps lights at the back if you're driving at night, and off you go. And I'll show you how you couple a trailer now. You saw the linchpin in the last video, so the linchpin just goes down here and you secure it with a locking pin down there. And this trailer, this is my boat trailer, obviously, one of them. And when you're going along a flat asphalt road, this is adequate. That's going nowhere. That will carry many tons before it breaks. But you can imagine if I was going to go along a rough field or an embankment or a mountain road, whatever, to get to a field, if the tractor or the trailer tipped more and more and more to one side eventually, because this is a flat fixed plate, it's going to produce a turning moment on the linch pin, and it could flip the tractor or break the pin. Excuse me. So what you have in an off-road trailer and professionally built trailer will be something more like this. This is from an old army wagon, as it happens, but you'd have a sleeve around here which is fixed to the trailer, which can turn like this, so that when you're driving along a rough road and the tractor or the trailer turns, this can turn with it, and your linch pin will be perfectly safe. It's not going to break off. So that works fine. So if you're, depending on the circumstances you're going to use your trailers in, you have to think ahead a little bit about safety and the quality of the towing equipment that you're going to use. A lot of people started living in tractors and trailers, a number of people, and the Germans started it, I think, actually. I met some German characters in Ireland years ago, and it was just a nice way to live and a nice way to travel. You know, they had the first, what you might call tiny houses, old converted huts, workers' huts very often, made really nice inside and cozy, wood burning stove, coal burning stove, and they'd pull these things across to Ireland and just potter about for years, working as journeymen, carpenters, or whatever it was, make their money, live in a wagon, park up in beautiful spots. The farmer would usually let them park up, or they'd park up on a hillside, and their garden was the mountains. It was a wonderful way to live, and I've seen Germans doing that, travelling all around Europe. Some have even been to Moscow and further on. And of course, a tractor's a great vehicle to do it in. You know, people are interested and they come and talk to you, and you're going slow enough not to miss anything. And it's a bit of an oddity, you know, people are interested, and you get some, you know, very nice acquaintances. And because it's industrial equipment, it doesn't really go wrong, and it can go anywhere. You can disconnect it, go off shopping in it. You can even use it for working to make some money while you're on your travels. And the thing is, with these old tractors in nearly every country, once they're an antique, and I think that depends on the country, but generally over 40 years old, something like that, you don't need to pay any tax. So there is zero road tax for a hobby tractor. And when it comes to insurance is extremely cheap. You're looking at around 30 to 50 euros a year, something like that. And when it comes to a test, the annual vehicle inspection that you have in virtually every country, you just don't need one for tractors. You certainly don't for the older ones. I don't think you do at all, from memory. So you can just basically pay your insurance and you're away. That's it. So life doesn't cost you a lot once you're on the road, and of course you can carry a big heavy wagon behind you. You can carry a home very easily. So it's a sort of a variant on van life, if you like. Quite a nice one.